this was our small group piece in Frantic Assembly that we learnt from Marlon and Jade that they did in the workshop. We've changed it a little bit to when we first did it. We've added music, and I'll talk through some of the other changes that we've done from finding this video, and some of the things that we are still yet to change. So we use the same music that they use in the workshop when they show different ways of exploring a piece. And here Marlon and Hannah are playing the same, and me and Bella. So it's the same movements. We tried to get it synchronised. I think I already spoke a little bit about that. But obviously it's just a physical demonstration of what it is, what I talked about before. What we actually did. So trying to get these lifts to work at the same time, trying to face the same direction. It was all about synchrony, about like this romantic kind of old style feel. It felt like an old romantic piece. And then back to the beginning. I felt like this was a nice positioning. We ended up quite close, and that sometimes was quite difficult as we ended up like walking into each other, but I think this worked quite well. Went a bit out of time. We tried to experiment with pace as well, actually, when I remember doing this piece. Tried to slow certain bits down, speed certain bits up, but I think it made it too complicated to get it in synchrony, so we just decided to keep it at a constant. So actually, this was one of the middle rehearsals that we did of this piece. To start off, when we first looked at this, we did 2 run-throughs and just had the same partner. We might look at each other occasionally. Then we decided to switch over. So I think it's here when we switch over partners. This worked in a sense so we could interact with each other more, like taken from inspiration as the idea of like the flirty tango that we did at the workshop. But I think we're going to change this again. So that we change at a different time, because there was too much repetition going on. The piece lagged on a lot, and it didn't really add anything having it longer, because it just sort of made it a bit boring. Not as much about like excitement and relationships, because I feel like this piece when looking at and regarding relationships is a lot more to do with like the excitement, the romance, rather than like the cheating on, even though there is an essence of feeling of there. So that's another thing that we are going to change. This was a bit confusing to where we stand. The positions kept changing because it was unclear of where we should go to. So here it needs to be more clear to where we're moving around. I liked the changing of positions because it brought about a different dynamic, but I feel like it needs to be more discussed because obviously Hannah didn't know where she should be facing then. And then here, the idea with eye contact. So me keeping eye contact with Hannah, Bella keeping eye contact with Marlon, but Marlon and Hannah having some eye contact, because we decided as well that to change this piece slightly as well, to add some variation, Marlon and Hannah will dance at the end, because we felt like it was more like a dance, like a romantic kind of dance. So they would dance at the end, showing again this different like layer to old-timey relationships. That's what brought about, though, I think, because beforehand it's up to that point it's been all romantic, really nice, and then I feel like because Hannah dances with Marlon, it's like this idea that they are secretly in love the whole time, and because Hannah is supposed to be playing a male character, it brings about like the ideas of like different types of relationships, like homosexual and heterosexual and stuff like that, and maybe a little hint towards that. So obviously our thought process here was where we were looking was a strong motivator for characters, and was also like quite an effective thing if we could get it right. But in moments like that, obviously, me and Marlon tried to show eye contact with our original partners, and it made it a bit less fluid, the movement, so at certain times we could break away like Hannah and Bella did, and it would be more effective. And I think we're going to keep this idea of eye contact because I think it's effective. I think we just changed the point at when we change partners, and that should have worked differently so they finish at the same time. Then push them in together and they do the piece again. It sort of like feels like two bystanders, but it doesn't look awkward. I think it's about like loss and maybe a bit of like, I don't know, the feeling of promiscuity, but it's not to a sense that it's like he's used them. It's like he's had multiple lovers and it's never really worked out. He's always really like yearned for the same person. This idea here of him walking away, I think we evaluated this, decided that's not so much of a good idea because it sort of just looks a bit like less in the era that we wanted it to, and less about like love. It does look like he's used them then, so I think we'd change that about as well. But this was just a recap and some of the rehearsals in the middle process of what we were working on.